Good morning, everyone. This is the NWBA's digital demo number 15. We are in Texas today with Anna Kolpic. Anna, good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing quite well. Really excited to see the set of tongs you're going to make. You're making box jaw tongs for us today?
I am. Yeah, let me grab them here. So I am making some box jaw tongs to hold 1 1/4 by 1/2 inch flat stock. I'm going to be starting with these pieces of 3/4 square. I've got them laid out at 1 inch and 7/8 back. I'm going to hand them off to my boss/assistant here in the forge.
Anna, do you know how long those pieces of bar you're starting with are?
Yeah, so the piece for the flat is 6 inches, and that's marked back 7/8 for my first shoulder. And the piece for the box side is 7 inches, and that's marked back 1 inch.
Perfect. So Anna, I'm not sure many people are very familiar with you. Can you tell us about the shop that you're in right now before we get started?
Sure. Yeah, so I am out in Temple, Texas right now, working for Michael Davis, who is going to be my cameraman. He is out here in like a pretty rural area, got blacksmith shop, fab shop, and I do journeyman work. I got here in March, and I'm doing like bronze fabricated and forged railings at the moment. And then I travel around and work other places.
Awesome. How long have you been blacksmithing for? How'd you get into it?
About 5 years. Yeah.
Where'd you get your start at?
Where? Well, I originally went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. I was doing jewelry there. And then when I graduated, I started working at Peters Valley School of Crafts in New Jersey. Took my first blacksmithing classes there, and then got an assistant position there and kept working at craft schools for a little while.
Awesome. If somebody was wanting to find you on Instagram or your website or something like that, how would they do that?
My Instagram is ARKolpic, and my website is annarkolpic.com.
Perfect. Well, I won't interrupt you anymore for a minute. If you want to just get started on things,
sure.
Take it away.
Yeah,
I'll holler at you with any questions we got. And
okay, sounds good. Let me switch the camera around. There we go. I'm ready to work. Over to you. Okay. So I've got my steel heating up at the moment. And my first heats are going to be setting shoulders on both halves of these tongs. Just FYI, it's about 100 degrees here. And I got fans going. I got fans on the phone. If anything shuts off from overheating, I will be back. Okay, so my first heat is going to be over at the power hammer. And I'm going to start by setting shoulders with a side set on the power hammer, and then setting a 3/4 round fuller for the box jaw side to separate all of that stock. Okay, looks like we got a heat already. Get the power hammer running.
what kind of power hammer is that? We're gonna get asked really quickly.
It's a Chambersburg.
It's a Chambersburg?
Yep.
200 pounds.
200 pound Chambersburg.
1943.
1943. Okay.
Well, so everyone in the audience here, while she's taking this first heat, We are starting kind of a program with beneficiary groups, and like last week we did one for the Cascadia Center for Arts and Crafts. Anna's beneficiary group is the Society for Inclusive Blacksmithing. So we're going to be auctioning these tongs off, and once everything is sold, half of the proceeds are going to go to that organization. It seems like
I'm ready to go.
All right, take it away.
Okay. So this first piece is my box draw side. My 3/4 fuller in on the back side of the center punch mark.
And Anna, you only came in on that on one side, right?
Yep. inches long so that when I finish the top stress side, they roughly meet up. And now I'm going to go to the vise to start upsetting and spreading out that T shape for the bar.
Anna, if you could tell your great cameraman that he could sure get a whole lot closer to those shots if you could.
Okay, get a little bit closer for all those shots.
If you see the view of this, it's all in walleye.
Okay.
Farther away than it used to be.
Okay. Now I'm just going to run to the power hammer real quick, flatten that out.
Hey, Anna, real quick, can you just tell us what exactly you did there and like maybe show us a close-up?
Yeah, sure. 1 second. So for that, I have this, can you see that okay? Yeah, I have this spread out material, and I'm using the vise and these rounded angle iron jaws in there to set some shoulders and upset this material, and I'm going to continue to upset and spread that material out to get more of a short, long T shape rather than this more squat T shape in there.
Got it.
What's the radius on the shoulder?
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start setting a shoulder, second shoulder, my tongs at the anvil now. So I set that shoulder at a bit of an angle. I always do one hit and check that's where I want so I can adjust if need be. Okay, I like that. Okay, so that's the beginning of setting that shoulder at an angle to create the boss section of my flat jaws.
Hey Anna, so
Can you see okay?
yeah, we can see. We got a question about when you're in the vise and you've got those insert jaws in there. Like, what kind of a radius is on those jaws? Is it pretty tight, or is it?
It is tight enough that I get a crisp shoulder, but sharp enough that it fits, whatever this is. About a 1/4 inch maybe?
Yeah,
I just don't want to create a cold shut. So enough that I've got a strong transition there.
You need to change this to walleye. Got a big old view.
Okay, so I'm going to be going back to the vise to do some more upsetting on there. I always want to make sure it's really perpendicular. I'm going to start using the cross peen side to really spread that material. I'm getting a lot more spread on there. I'm going to keep working that back and forth a little bit. Okay. Continue to set the shoulder of my flat jaws. I want to go about halfway flat jaw, which is 3/4. So about 3/8 on that transition.
So you're bringing the boss down to about 3/8 or half the parent stock.
Exactly, half the parent stock, half the width of the jaw itself. So once I have that shoulder set, I like doing that at the anvil, and then the rest of the drawing out can be at the power hammer. So I can flip this around to start working on the power hammer. And my box jaw side, I'm going to be crisping those shoulders up a bit at the anvil as well. Just go to the power hammer to flatten it out. Okay, so I have a lot more work that's ultimately going to happen for this box jaw side, but at this point I want to start doing the rest of the tong forging while this T shape isn't too wide and doesn't get in my way. Okay, so I'm going to start drawing out the boss and the reins on my flat jaw on power hammer now.
I really like that approach, bringing the boss all the way down the rein, that same thickness.
It simplifies things a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to just set that shoulder on the box jaw side of the anvil. Michael. So that same angled shoulder, now I just have to make sure not to hit my T-shape on the end. Okay, that's where I want it.
Hey. Anna, can you remind us what size this is going to hold? Did you say 1/2 by 1 1/4?
Yep. Okay, so I've started to establish that second shoulder for the boss on here. I'm gonna let my box jaw side catch up to my flat jaw side. So I'll be doing the same processes at the same time on both for a little bit. So I'm continuing to establish that angled shoulder for the boss. Get that down to 3/8. established, and I can switch this around to start working on the reins as well.
Well, they seem to be coming together pretty quickly so far.
So far, so good, huh?
What's the tool you were using to set that in?
This is a side set or like a shoulder tool.
Okay.
The cross section there. I've got two different ones of these. One that's the right side one and one that's the left side one. And it just makes a nice radius shoulder that helps, set a shoulder without getting a cold shut, basically.
Anna, after this heat, could you show us the finish set again? We've got some folks asking.
Sure. So there's my about half width there. I got a little bit of extra material that I can refine later and not have to worry I'm going to make it too thin. The finished pair right here.
Those are pretty nice. So we got bidding. Folks are bidding these things up.
Woo! Exciting.
Anna, do you sell tongs on your website?
Not really. I mean, I am not opposed to getting a tong commission. I just don't have an established, collection of tongs that I specifically make. So, work in progress. For this, I'm actually going to switch power hammers because I'm spoiled and have access to 2 power hammers at the moment. The Chambersburg that I've been using is really good for setting tools and doing crisp shoulders and all the work that I've been doing so far. This is the Penzotti, and it has a much faster speed to it, a little more refined touch, and the dies are much more radius on the edges, so it's much better for drawing out tapers, something like reins.
Well, Anna, you're being told that you should start carrying these tongs because they're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And you've got at least 4 people who are fiercely bidding against each other trying to get these things. So.
Keep bidding against each other. I really need to take a special pair of tongs to hold that one box draw side. So, like the obsessive tong maker that I am, I need tongs to make my own tongs. So, never-ending cycle.
center tool tongs. Yes, bending tongs.
So the last bit of that heat, I just went in and broke the corners, leaving an inch-ish near the boss unbroken, mainly for aesthetic purposes. And then the rest of the way down the range, the corners are broken for comfort. Now I'm just going to go to the anvil and straighten this.
Well, Anna, your tongs just broke the $200 mark.
Woo! Well, that's exciting. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so the reins have both been drawn out. They match up pretty good. I usually, at the end, do a little bit of trimming, fold work. These ones I'm doing pretty much all the way through.
When you say you do trimming cold work, you just to match up the reins so they're the same length?
Exactly. Yeah, so you can see all of the ones that I've already forged. You know, the reins don't quite line up. There could be like a little bit of grinding, sanding on the ends, stuff like that, file work. Get real fancy with them, but for the purposes of the demo and time and everything that I'm doing is just at the forge, at the anvil, no cold work, and you end up with a functional pair of tongs And then I could just hack off that little end if I want to. But so these are the two halves all drawn out at this point. I cooled off the reins, so now I have a little bit of an easier handle to hold on to. I'm gonna keep working on the boss and the jaws and everything.
Well, and just to let you know, you're doing great on time. You're not even an hour in, so.
Wow. Well, the box jaw side, that's the real time killer. Also the fun part. So my boss informed me there's some talk of what tongs I've been using. Is that true?
Yeah, someone had pointed out that you're making tongs using Off-Center Products tongs, which was one of the founding NWBA members, Grant Sarver, is the creator of the Off-Center Forge tongs.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I
actually made these tongs. These are Anna Kolpic originals. But I'm honored to be compared to offset tongs. Thanks.
Oh, so the ones you were using were your tongs?
Yeah, all the tongs I'm going to be using were made by me. Okay. So at this point, I'm just sort of coming in, refining a lot of my transitions. Now that I've got a little more space to work with. And I'm going to work on cleaning up the boss area on both these pairs of tongs, making sure everything's clean and fits up nicely with each other.
You're getting a lot of bravos and rock on for making that great set of tongs that were confused with what we hold as a very high standard of being excellent tongs. So.
Well, thank you. So at this point, you can see that the boss is formed, but not really like a nice, clean, even shape. So I'm going to start working on sort of rounding up and evening out that shape on both of them. And basically upsetting the mass of that boss and just squishing it all around until it's in a shape that I actually like.
Are you going for kind of a round shape or still kind of rectangular? Or?
I tend to go for like square with rounded corners and a little bit of an angle to it. Seems nice. My only reasoning behind it. But while I'm doing this, I'm also just making sure everything else sort of stays in its place. If things get crooked or offset or anything weird, I'm keeping it all in mind because as I go, it gets harder and harder to correct any crookedness that might form. So that is looking like a pretty good shape. Everything's pretty squared up and centered. And then I like to round out those corners so there isn't interference between the two halves of the tongs while their bosses are moving against each other.
sure it'd make you happy to hear that currently right now, Ann Bujold's your high better at 215.
Ann! Woo! Thanks, Ann.
There was enough action in there. I'm surprised nobody's stolen it away from her yet.
Come on. Gotta make Ann fight for him. Okay, so this one's now at about the same point as the other one. I can come in, start rounding those corners out a bit. That one aside for the moment, get the other one caught up, and hopefully they fit. They match up pretty good. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, it looks like those bosses are going to work pretty well together.
Yep. So at this point, if I needed to, I could still sort of mush those bosses around a little bit and get them to fit up better, but I'm happy with that fit up. The flat jaw side is pretty much done until I go to punch the hole, so I'm going to set that aside and work on getting this box jaw side finished out, get that T-shape more forged. So this is going to be a little bit of running around from vise to anvils with the power hammer and back again, so bear with me as the camera has to do a little dance along with me.
Oh, we're happy to dance around the shop and watch the camera.
Well, run around like a crazy person and forge with me. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, you've got a little over 40 people who are in here, but I was just looking at kind of where some of them are from, and it's a really large spread. A lot of folks from the Northwest, but we've got folks from Maryland and looks like Massachusetts and New York. We've also got someone coming from Russia, so. I
saw that. Welcome to Texas, y'all. Okay, let's see, where do I want to start? Let's go to the vise, might as well.
Well, the bidding's got so intense, people are talking about selling kidneys to cover costs. So.
Wow, that seems a little bit extreme for a pair of tongs, but you know, I'm not going to question it.
No, I think this is just every indicator that you should probably sell something on your website.
So that people don't have to sell their kidneys for them. Just buy them. Okay. starting to get wider. I'm going to just keep sort of going back and forth between upsetting in the vise, upsetting the shoulder of the anvil, and then spreading at the power hammer a little bit as well. There we go. Thank you. And can we get a quick silent round of applause for Michael, my cameraman today? He won't be able to hear it, but I'll let him know that everyone's real happy with him.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, he's killing it. Okay, can we get the power hammer on? Thank you. That thing. I've heard they're useful. Okay, doing a really quick little upset on those shoulders at the anvil. As I do all this, I'm continuously trying to stay on top of all of the crookedness and everything and twisted so it doesn't get away from me too much.
Well, we've got some folks in the audience saying that it sure does look hot in there, and we know that it's about 100 degrees, and so maybe it's a hydration break you need to take. We're worried about your safety.
I put this here for myself, doesn't mean I remember to drink it, and it is Texas themed water because everything is Texas. I am actually from New Jersey. Northeast is my home stomping grounds. Lived in Pennsylvania, New York for a while, but Texas is very intense. It kind of takes you in.
We do have a question about that anvil you've been working on. Do you know what it is, what it weighs, any info?
Michael, anvil question.
It's a 1909 S&H North pattern German. About 380 pounds.
About 380 pounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, nice little anvil. Good for small stuff, right? And continuing to spread that material too. And my goal in terms of spreading here, I know I want maybe 2.5-ish widthwise, and ideally around 2 inches lengthwise. It's pretty rough, but as long as it hits roughly around those numbers and looks even and nice, I'm happy with it and it works.
I know you've only been there this is your first summer in Texas, is that right?
Yes, this is my first summer in Texas.
Are you getting used to the heat? How are you doing with that?
It's pretty weird how much I've gotten used to it. Now it's like 95 degrees out. I'm like, oh, wow, it's a nice, cool day. I'm good. And it gets below 85 and I start to get chilly. So I don't know if I can go back to New Jersey. from the shop right now. Although the thermometer is not where the forge is. But that's why I've got a lot of fans set up on me right now.
Yeah, sometimes it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel. I imagine it's really the way to go.
Yeah, I hope the noise isn't too much of a distraction, but I think it's less of a distraction than me passing out.
Yeah, no, we'll take the noise.
Okay, good. Wow.
What's the hottest day you guys have had in the shop so far?
I think we got up to 106 one day.
Oh, this year? Yeah, we've been to 106.
106. You know, we tend to quit around 2 or 3 on those days and start around 5 or 6 when it's only 80 degrees. Oh, apparently 118 was the record last year. So I'm hoping we don't hit that.
And so that 118, that was in shop heat?
I believe so. I'm doing a little bit of a taper on that box draw side, drawing it out, doing some sort of cleanup as I go, get it nice and crisp. Centering up that T-shape a little bit more. I've got a little bit of a twist in there to take out. Okay, so I want a little bit more spread on there, but I'm pretty close to my numbers. So I'm going to spread that end bit a tiny bit more, and I'll be ready to fold it up.
So we have a question from Linda. She asked the space between the spread on the box jaw and the boss, which I think is kind of that neck that's happening.
Yeah.
Does that happen naturally with the upsetting process, or did you set that up in the beginning? She asked because hers usually gets too long.
Okay, so that is what was established by that initial fuller that I did, that 3/4 round fuller, my very first step, and then was further established when I set it in the vise, and that created those shoulders and really defined where the end of that little neck space is. So if you're ending up with that being too wide, then either your initial set-in for those shoulders and that fullering is too big of a fuller, so you're setting down too much material, which the first couple pairs I did ended up like that. It was a little bit too long. And then as you're upsetting and setting those shoulders, they do tend to drift. So if you have to do too many heats where you're upsetting, then those shoulders are getting drifted further and further up, and that neck ends up really long.
Cool, thanks for the answer.
Yeah. A little more spread on here. about 2.5 inches wide and a little under 2 inches long. I'd say the T-shaped horizontal bit at the end's about 1 inch, and then the little neck's a little under 1 inch, just to give you some dimensions on what's happening here and where I'm calling it good at this point to start bending everything up. So now I'm ready to figure out where I want those bends in that box to end up. And normally, if I wasn't doing this for a demo, I'd probably stop and do a little bit of file work, a little grinder work to crisp up some edges, get really obsessive on it. But for our purposes, this is totally fine and will function as a good pair of tongs. So I've got my 1.25" by 1/2 here. And I basically just set it on here, centered up over that like neck area, and get my little soapstone and just draw some rough lines about where those edges are. So those are going to be about where my bends are. And then I rough it out, first cold, got just like a little fuller here, mark this out. Hey Michael, can you hold this for me real quick? Yeah, sure. Thank you. I forgot I had someone here to help me. I'm not used to that. Okay, so that's pretty rough, but just little layout marks. Gonna get a heat and get those a little bit deeper. Okay, so now I've got those little fuller marks, and I'm just coming in, and I don't want to go too deep because that'll make a bit of a weak spot, but give myself a little bit more of a crisp line there to follow for when I do my bends, and makes it easier for the metal to bend where I want it to.
So about how deep are you setting those grooves in?
Maybe a 16. Enough that when I go and flip this over, it will catch on the edge of the anvil, and nothing more than that.
Well, I just want to make a little announcement for anyone who's not maybe following the chat. We've got the bidding on these tongs open for about another 5 minutes, so act now or lose out.
5 minutes, everyone. Okay, so this forming of the box part, I'm sure there's a million different ways to do this. This is sort of the way that I ended up landing on when I tried other ways. I used, the vise, try and create a bend, and try doing it without any fuller marks. I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to do it that would work just as well, if not better. I plan on keep playing with them, but this is giving me a pretty good result so far. Okay.
So Deb is asking, where the money for these tongs are going to go, and I just kind of want to answer this for everyone to hear. So for this auction, half of the money is going to go into the NWBA coffers to help support programming like this, as well as just take care of our operating costs. And then the other half is going to go to the Society for Inclusive Blacksmithing, who is offering some kind of grant programs and scholarships. And Anne Bujold is going to talk about that kind of towards the end of this for more info. We just didn't want to interrupt the demo with other talk. So.
Okay, so you can see that sort of started forming that box shape. Just using, I've got this nice flat horn on this anvil. If I didn't have that, I could have some sort of a hardy tool that had a tapered flat horn on it. And if I was doing smaller box jaws where I needed a narrower end, I probably would need some sort of a narrower horn on there as well. But for this size, this anvil works really well. When I do this, I'm kind of hooking that fuller mark and feeling for it on the edge of the anvil. And then doing a little bend around it. This doesn't have to be totally perfect because I will ultimately be putting my fit-up stock in there and forging it around the box, but I need it roughed out enough that I can do that later on. So that's fitting in there pretty good at this point and can be fit up more later. I want to make sure everything's pretty straight, even at this point. And I'm going to go ahead and punch and drift holes in my tongs. Just making sure I got cool off range. Okay.
So what size rivet hole are you putting in there?
I'm going to do a 3/8 hole. So I'm punching with a about 1/4 inch punch. And then I'm going to drift it out 3/8. I often will drill my hole, but thought, why have the one and only time I leave demo be to drill a hole when I'm a blacksmith? So I decided to punch and drift it. So this is the punch I'm using. One of the very first punches I ever made. Still with me.
That right there is my favorite part of punching hole.
What, when it succeeds?
Yeah, when you get a tool stuck in the hole, it's the best.
Yep. But you can always get it out. Just have to fight it. Okay.
Well, so Lisa just won your tongs.
Woo! Yay, Lisa!
Now there's just a lot of talk of that since she's a college student now, she's gonna have to be living on a diet of burritos, of ramen, and tuna. Egg,
yeah, that's
lettuce. Those are all she gets to eat. She just spent all her money on.
what else? What else is there? There we go. So now I'm going to drift out 3/8 rivet.
Anna, do you know what tool steel you're using for that drift?
My drift is mild steel.
Oh, it's just mild steel.
Yeah, I tend to make drifts, especially ones that are, pretty simple, that if I have to make it again, I'm not too sad. Just out of mild steel, so that I don't have to worry about punching it when it's hot. I've got my little rivet in my pocket. There we go, perfect fit. Got a little bolster here so that I can drift around my whole box jaw side. One last heat on each rivet, on each tong half, to make sure everything's straight and really where I want it to be. Typically, if I wasn't, doing this with a little time restraint, I would bolt these up and do an initial sit up with a 3/8 bolt in there. And that would give me a little bit more wiggle room in terms of, if I need to take the back apart, do different straightening, whatever might need to happen. But for our purposes, rivets, I tend to go for what I would say is the lazy approach, where I don't have a pre-made rivet. I just put it in there, do a little cold set action. Now it's stuck in there, and I can just heat up my rivet with the torch and set it from both sides.
How do you figure the length of that bar for your rivet?
Good question. So for rivet, you want 1.5 the diameter of the rivet sticking out on each side. So I've got 3/8 rivet, and so it's the width or the thickness of the two bosses plus 1.5, 3/8 on each side. Whatever that ended up being is what I cut this at. One and 7/8. I think I cut this one a little bit shorter because I didn't like how it looked at 1 and 7/8. Since I'm setting this rivet from both sides, I do partial set on one side and a partial set on the other side. Now I'll come back in and finish setting it on both sides. So my rivet's now set, and if I get another heat on it, I'll be able to open it up and start working the tongs back and forth. Okay, so now that they're all riveted together, I can go through fitting them up and making them actually hold the size stock I want them to hold. So right now, everything's way too tight. And the way I started to think about fitting up tongs was I basically view them as like one piece of material rather than just two separate halves. And then I can just straighten and adjust them as if I was just straightening or adjusting like a straight bar of steel versus like thinking about it as a bunch of moving parts. So I kept doing that and everything would move too much. But if I just viewed it as one piece, it made everything easier in my head.
Oh, I like that idea. Treating it like a unit instead of two halves.
Yeah. For a while, fitting up tongs was like the the longest, hardest part of making a pair of tongs. I was like, well, it's just a piece of steel. Okay. I always focus on just getting the jaws to fit up how I want them first, and then I deal with the reins, because the reins can move later however I want them to, as long as the jaws fit right. Getting there every time. Remember to pull that piece. That's how I've gotten birth the most times in my blacksmithing career, is fitting up a pair of tongs.
Yeah, that piece doesn't look hot.
Never does, and you always grab the wrong side of it. Every time.
Well, it seems like you're getting close. Those tongs worked. They held the piece.
Yeah, we're almost there. Just a few more really obsessive fit-up beats, and then we're there.
Great. Well, I think, maybe now is not a bad time while you're doing this fit up that we bring Ann into the conversation. She can talk about SIBs and let everybody know what the Society of Inclusive Blacksmithing is all about. Does that work for Ann? Are you interested about talking about that right now, Ann? Yep, Ann, we can hear you. We're going to leave the video pinned on Ann. Feel free to just talk about it as in between or however it works.
Okay, Kellen, I'm gonna jump in now.
Great.
Okay, cool. So the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths is a small organization. We kind of consider it more of a project. We started about 3 years ago with the recognition that there's a lack of diversity in blacksmithing and wanting to,
Hey, Ann, can I stop really quick? Because I
Yep.
think maybe since you don't have a headset on or something, that you're a little hard to hear. Anna, if you're just gonna be fitting up, I'm gonna mute you, but then you're gonna have to unmute yourself before you start again. So I'm just gonna mute you.
Okay, sounds.
Ann, maybe we can hear you better now.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, that sounds way better.
Okay, great. So the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths is a small group of folks who've been working on a project for the last couple years. And at this point, what we have in the works are 2 different efforts. We did some fundraising last year for website development and the beginning of a scholarship fund. We weren't able to distribute scholarships to attend classes this summer because all of the classes got canceled everywhere, but we are hoping to do so for the 2021 season. Hopefully things are going to get better and we'll all get to going back to school and having a good time, learning lots of things. So our mission is to help folks from underrepresented demographics get access to blacksmithing, education, and community. We recognize that folks who come from different racial, ethnic, gender, sexual orientation, variety of backgrounds may face unique challenges when they come to this craft. So, we don't have all the answers for how to do that, but we're just a group of people who would like to be part of solving that problem because we recognize that the more diversity in our community, the more, new ideas and different kinds of perspectives are going to get brought to the material in the process, and we'll all benefit from this kind of effort. So the other project that we're working on that we're going to launch later this fall, kind of thinking about the whole COVID situation and the fact that we can't get together and do conferences and kind of be together in the ways that we're used to, is we're working on doing a sort of virtual mentorship program, and we're hoping to pair aspiring smiths with smiths who have some experience in the field. And when we reach out to start looking for mentors and mentees, really a mentor can be anyone with a couple of years in. They don't need to be someone who's been in the field forever and ever, and a lot of the times, like, what any of us really just need is someone to encourage us, to answer some questions, help point us in the right direction, point us towards resources. So we're just really working towards being a group that can provide that kind of support for folks who might have a hard time accessing it through more traditional avenues.
Oh, that's great to hear. I really like to hear that there's that mentor system you guys are working towards. That sounds awesome.
I'm gonna tune in real quick to say that for me, SIBS has been really amazing to connect me with, other women blacksmiths and blacksmiths from different backgrounds as well that I wasn't really finding a way to connect with before the organization. And that's why I wanted to have that be the group that was benefiting from my demo, and why personally it's very important for me.
Well, thank you for the demo and for choosing SIBS as your beneficiary. I've also been a supporter of them.
Okay, so I'm about to do my final heat here. I've got everything fit up the way I wanted it to, and now I'm just coming in, doing a quick little wire brush with a heat on there. And then I like to sort of make sure that rivet is well set while it's still got heat, and it's kind of hard to move it. And then while it's still hot, move the tongs until I've got free movement, and then quench everything while still moving them.
Anna, do you touch mark your tongs?
When I remember.
So you still have one more heat then, right?
I'll do it later, I promise, Lisa. I did finally get a touch mark, like the nice adult blacksmith that I am. And it's a work in progress. Remember to use it. Okay.
Well, before we have Anne Bujold sign off, so half of the Tongs sale is going to go to Society of Inclusive Blacksmithing. But if somebody was wanting to support you guys directly, do you have a website or a way that folks can find more information about that?
Yeah, Kellen, we do. So you can find our website at inclusiveblacksmiths.com. And we are fiscal sponsorship under 501c3 umbrella organization. So we're working on adding a donate button to our website. And we also have an Instagram and a Facebook if you look up Inclusive Blacksmiths. And anybody who would like to get involved, contact us. We'd love to have you if you want to be part of any of the projects that we're working on, or you have ideas for projects you might want to bring to the group. We're not a traditional organization in the sense that we don't have a paid membership. We don't really have a membership roster at all. It's kind of really more of an ethos than an organization at this point. And so if you are a person who supports the idea of encouraging diversity in blacksmithing, you're part of the effort. And if you'd like to or you can find us through our Instagram, our Facebook, or our website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne.
Thanks, Anne.
Thank you, Anna.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so these are the tongs. They have, that final quench with that heat made them have a pretty good rivet action where they're, not super loose, but able to move, which for me is the ideal rivet situation. And then they hold the desired piece of stock. So I would say that is a successful pair of tongs right there.
I think that's a very successful pair of tongs. Thank you so much for the demo. I think it was really well received. We'd have had a lot of comments of just like, excellent demo, masterful work, awesome job. Do you got time for a shop tour? Can we take a look at this awesome facility that you guys are?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to figure out how everything works in technology. But yeah, let me give you a quick shop tour.
Cool.
Okay.
And I do know that we have some folks in the audience who kind of came off of the SIBS mailing list. And I would just let all of them know, if they don't know already, that these virtual digital demonstrations, you can sign up for a virtual access pass with the NWBA. It's $5 a month. We've got multiple programs. It's a great value. It helps support our regional group up here in the Northwest, but also kind of opens up a window to the world. Our next demo is on September 12th, and we're going to St. Petersburg, Russia, to visit Alexander Sushnikov in his shop, where he'll be forging a sculptural face on a pretty heavy piece of angle iron. His work's really cool. He's hard to find on Facebook because it's all written in Cyrillic, but he's an amazing smith. So
that sounds awesome. Okay, so first part of the tour, behind the scenes.
Camera crew, thank you so much, camera crew.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so we got the whole forging area over here. This is the Chambersburg I was working on. The gas forge, the Penzati. We've got another 2-horn anvil, little giant back in the corner. We got a homemade coal forge over here, a large tunnel forge for doing more big architectural pieces. There's a press right here. And then that's the little corner, the forging corner of the shop. And then here with Corby wandering through it, this is the more fabrication area, which is, on the job where I most often end up working. This is a section of the job we've been doing. It's this large section of mostly fabricated bronze rail with very detailed grind joints and quite a bit of TIG welding, silicon bronze TIG welding. Also do more scroll work. This is a sample of some of the more detailed scroll work with some chasing work, also in bronze. Then we've got machining area over here, a couple mills, just a nice big space basically where we make a whole bunch of railings.
Yeah, can you remind me of the shop name?
Davis Metalsmiths.
Davis Metalsmiths.
Yeah.
How many folks work there?
I'm looking for people.
We've currently got 4 people, and we're currently hiring. And I'm gonna bring you outside here. We've got basically stacks and stacks of railing.
Yeah, you do.
And yeah, so this is the longest section we've done so far. We've got some curved rails that are going to be made. They're in pieces at the moment. More railings here. This is the gun range, important part of the shop here. So yeah, bronze railings everywhere, more than we know what to do with, and more to come.
What type of bronze are you guys using?
It's silicon bronze, and we've got crates and crates of it.
18,000 pounds.
18,000 pounds of silicon bronze.
That was an expensive order.
Yeah, I think that costs a pretty penny right there. This is the rolling machine we use to roll those curves. Yeah, so that's basically the job we've got at the moment happening, and the reason that I'm here is for this job. And so coming out here, I'd never worked with bronze before, and now I have.
Do you think you'll want to work with it again when you're done?
Well, I don't really know how to make tools out of bronze, so.
Oh, first thing you do is make a hammer.
Well, so for me and my personal work, no, but I do enjoy fabricating with it. Doing more architectural work is enjoyable. So yes, I would. I did make a bronze hammer. Michael pointed out to me. So I have made tools with bronze. Okay, well, I'll switch back to my face unless there's anything else in the shop that people are wondering about.
No, I just think that, this was such a great demo, and I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your life to have put all this together for us. So generous. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I had fun. Any excuse to make tongs.
Yeah. And I just also want to thank the audience, everybody who took time out of their day to come and watch Anna and learn. And I would highly encourage anyone who's got interest in it to go and support SIBS. It's a really good organization that's working towards things. And, support the NWBA. We got a donate button on our page. And I would make one quick little announcement that last weekend we did a fundraiser that was for the Cascadia Center for Arts and Crafts, and we have extended the deadline on that until the end of the month. And so if you are interested in supporting the local Northwest Top of Mount Hood art school that's up there, any donation of $100 or more will get you a set of 4 hooks from myself, Joe Elliott, Hunter Dahlberg, and Lisa Geertsen. It's a great deal, and it goes for a really good cause. And they can be found at cascadiaarts.org. I think that's about it. Well, thank you so much, Anna.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.